Hi everyone, Tony from Hack the Movies here, and before we start the Talked About tapes, I want to say that this episode is sponsored by Raid Adam Does Movies. I'm on a new episode of his show Movie Feuds, where we talk about End of Days versus Devil's Advocate. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. I love the show. It's one of my favorite YouTube shows. And yeah, I think you guys really need to check it out. So after this video, hop on over to Adam's channel and watch that video. Now, on to the review.
It's my time now.
The Devil's Advocate.
So, Newt, after all these weeks, my nose is finally healed.
Because you stopped getting in fights.
I stopped getting in fights. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in weeks. Okay? I definitely didn't drink.
Did not come here from the bar.
Nope. I definitely didn't have 3 Jack and Gingers back to back, and then had to stop because I was like, "Oh wow, we gotta
go film.
We gotta go talk about some stupid fucking movie no one remembers."
Well, you know what? It's a good thing you didn't do that.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
So, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the Devil's Advocate. Or Devil's Advocate. It's not the Devil's Advocate. It's
I put
Devil's Advocate.
Devil's?
That's what it says here. Devil's Advocate.
I put the before it. I tried to class up our notes a little bit. Sorry.
I know. So we're talking about Devil's Advocate. This is a follow-up to our End of Days review.
Exactly. It's
So we're continuing the Devil in New York saga. There has to be more, right?
Well, I mean, Rosemary's Baby.
Was that in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The people involved in that movie were shitty.
Yes.
Roman Polanski might be shitty, and Mia Farrow. Hi everyone, Tony from the present here, and despite what Tony from the past said, he had more than a couple of drinks the night he shot this. And he might have went on a really long rant about how Mia Farrow is a terrible person. And although everything he said is true, and can be backed up by Mia Farrow's adopted son, Moses Farrow, the internet has already made up their mind on the matter, and if you follow me on Twitter, you know I've been getting a new cancel attempt every other month. So I'm just going to interject from time to time and delete anything past Tony might have said, so Tony from the future can remain having a job. So, delete! So, we have a new motto. You suggested a new motto.
I have a new motto for Hack the Movies. It's abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
it goes with the whole,
it goes really, really well
Dante's
with Hack the Movies video.
Exactly.
So Devil's Advocate, this is a movie I grew up with. As I've gotten older, I realize it's not that good of a movie, but I really like this movie.
Well, this was 1997. Warner Brothers was coming off the big hit Batman and Robin. They were
hitting home runs.
I never saw this. Like I told you, there's only one scene in this movie that I'd ever seen.
Which we'll get to it. Yeah.
But I'm
shocked you haven't seen this, actually.
There was just like a time period where I was just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know?
So this was based on a novel.
Which I didn't know until you told me that. I thought.
Yeah, I gotta find... I didn't know until recently. I gotta find the novel because I want to see... Because we're gonna go through this movie and... There's a lot of good ideas in this movie, and then there's a lot of stupid shit, and I want to see what the novel's responsible for.
Well, there's one big thing that they changed. We know that.
Yes. This is directed by Taylor Hackford, and right off the bat, the first 4 letters in his last name, big fan of.
Yes, yeah.
Big fan of them.
He hacked the movies way before you.
Yes, he was hacking movies. I'm actually Taylor Hackford's son.
Oh my God.
I'm going to find out one day.
You're his son? Yeah. It all comes full circle. You'll see.
He was the director of Officer and a Gentleman, which don't I have that on the Betamax here?
It's right. No, where is it?
We had it on Betamax. We mentioned it at
somewhere.
I think it's actually right there, underneath Time Travel the Bible. No. It's somewhere over there. Right. God damn it.
Since this has taken new management here, you've really...
I know. I really moved things around. Anyway, Officer and a Gentleman.
And Ray.
He went on to do Ray. Yeah. So he's a pretty talented director, I would say. It's written by Tony Gilroy, who is famous for the Bourne movies and that snooze fest called Rogue One.
Oh, it's a Star Wars movie?
Yeah.
People like the Star Wars.
The one where everyone says, oh my God, Force Awakens was just a rehash. Rogue One was totally original. It's like, yeah, shutting down a satellite. I've never seen Return of the Jedi before. Also written by Jonathan Lemkin, who did Showdown in Little Tokyo. And we have it.
Red Planet.
We have it.
Somewhere.
Son of a bitch, where are all my movies going? And you found out it
That came out the same day as I Know What You Did Last Summer.
This one I do know
And
where it is.
that's funny because I remember I chose that movie over this movie. And I was in 8th grade, maybe.
Well, as you can tell by the Movie Line magazine from 2000 with Jennifer Love Hewitt up there, I don't know if you guys can see that. I would have chosen I Know What You Did Last Summer too. But I had a big JLH crush, which continues to this day. Now she was like a hot young girl. Now she's a hot MILF. It always works out.
You know, if you keep at this, you show her you're a business owner. You might have a shot.
You know what, Jen? I'm coming for you.
And she's in an episode of Special Victims Unit, which goes into later.
Right.
It all.
So Robert Redford.
Yeah, Robert Redford was originally offered the role of Milton, who Al Pacino plays in the movie.
John Milton.
John Milton.
Get it?
Get it? Like Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
Paradise Lost is literature.
Yes.
It's not a YouTube video.
There used to be a thing called books. They were like movies, but words.
Yeah, and then so Pacino. They offered it to him like 3 times, but he kept saying no because he didn't want to do a special effects movie. So finally, they just backed a truck full of money. Keanu Reeves' money, apparently, because he took a big pay cut to be in this because he wanted to do a non-action movie after Chain Reaction. And
the effects are kind of subtle in this. They're until the end, which it's kind of justified in the end. You build up to it. But yeah, it's not that apparent. I would love to maybe. I really do need to read the book because if this was going to be a big special effects heavy movie,
what would it have been?
I really want to know what it would have been.
So young Charlize Theron, she was 21 years old when she did this movie.
Yes,
she was offered Showgirls,
right?
But she turned down Showgirls because of all the nudity, and instead Jessie Spano. What's her real name?
Oh, I don't know.
Elizabeth Berkley.
Yes,
Elizabeth Berkley did it instead, but like. There's a bunch of nudity in this movie too.
Yeah,
and Charlize Theron would have gotten to do that awkward pool sex scene, which is with Kyle MacLachlan, which is one of my favorite scenes in any movie. You're like, that's not how sex works. I'm not an expert, but
so I guess she thought the nudity was justified in this. But it feels like a movie just made by sleazy guys.
Yeah, exactly. They originally did it with Brad Pitt playing the Kevin Lomax part, who Keanu Reeves
I could have seen
plays.
that too.
Yeah, so that was that. But Keanu chose to do this over Speed 2. And then they gave
classic
Speed 2.
My favorite.
So it's, who made the right choice?
Yeah.
And then, so he gave half his pay up so that they could get Al Pacino to be in the movie. So, So right off the bat, let's talk about the very first thing you see in this movie.
So here's the problem with this movie. Even before the movie.
Yeah.
So the movie wants to be, like, subtle and have this mystery. Mm-hmm. And then the poster and the credits, the poster and the trailer and all the advertisements just spoil.
Well, that's the only thing that I remember about this movie was the nonstop Al Pacino. I have so many names. That's the thing that was in the trailer that was over and over and over again.
Spoiler alert:
Al Pacino's the devil.
He's literally the devil, and you could blame that on advertising.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then the movie starts with fire.
And then clouds and that kind of exorcist-y style lettering because they're like, look, people are really stupid. Yeah. Okay? So we're going to have to spell a lot of this stuff out for them,
Yes. And then we open up on a court case.
Yes, and the first person we see is that girl, and I knew her from a bunch of stuff, but the first thing that came to mind was the last season of Roseanne that really wasn't a season because it was a dream, and she was DJ's girlfriend when he became a filmmaker.
Okay.
But then that whole season, like I said, it was a dream, and Dan was dead, but then they retconned that season when they brought it back, and then that lasted a year, and then they got rid of Roseanne because she's a crazy, racist psychopath. And then they did...
Look. Nope. We're not going to talk about Roseanne or share her side of the story. We're just going to keep moving on, okay, Drunk Tony? You son of a... Delete! So he's defending the sheriff from True Blood.
Yes.
Who's being accused of really liking the movie Cuties. That joke's gonna be so dated by the time this comes out. So kids, Cuties was a movie a month ago.
that everybody was upset about.
Yes, and I bet you no one's talking about it now.
But nobody was ever upset about like Dance Moms or like the entire plot of Little Miss Sunshine.
Toddlers and Tiaras.
It's just like, it's gross no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But this guy loves the movie.
This guy genuinely loves. There's a lot of people in this movie who genuinely would love that movie.
He's being accused of molestation of a couple girls.
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves is trying to defend him. He's like a defense attorney.
Yeah.
She's telling the story.
In Florida.
Yes, in Florida. She's telling the story of what he did to her. And guys, if you're ever
on trial,
let me tell you something. There's a time and a place to jerk off. And while a girl is telling an entire court how you're a pedophile, don't jerk off then. That blew my mind.
And that's how the movie starts.
And by the way, I watched this when I was 8, so this was a very adult movie for me. And I'm being like thrown with a lot of heavy stuff.
And this is like right off the bat. You're not eased into this.
No.
And it makes sense too because it shows it's a win by all cause. He's a good lawyer.
Yeah.
He's not a good lawyer, but he's he's good at what he does.
Yeah.
And so you're dropped right into that.
Keanu's gonna quit.
Yeah.
He realizes he's defending the wrong guy. He goes to quit. His vanity gets to him, which is a reoccurring theme.
Vanity.
The guy from the press is like, well, you can't win them all because he's always won every case.
Yeah.
Also, I've never been married. Do married men take their rings off when they wash their hands? I've never seen that. I've never seen a married guy take his ring.
Because it's not even like a character thing. Like they give a close up of it too, so it means something.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something I cut
subtlety, I don't know.
So he's like, hey, you're gonna lose, and Keanu's like, well, I don't care about that girl now. I'm gonna win.
Yeah. So he goes in there, and Tony, have you ever heard of a game called Special Places?
Newt. Guys, I didn't get invited to a lot of parties in high school. I wasn't the popular kid.
No.
So I missed out on Special Places. I was not familiar with this game.
So Keanu goes back and he has to cross-examine this crying preteen girl, and he's talking about how they made fun of the teacher, and they called him like an huge hog beast. And they basically, like, you played this game with your friends, and you didn't like this guy, and you set this whole thing up, and she's crying, and the girl's father, like, freaks out, and it's
So basically what she did, she, like, blackmailed the girl. She said, hey, like, you have to say you were molested by this guy, or I'm going to tell everyone about this game. And, like, so he gets off free because they throw out her case. But it turns out, like, she admits that, like, it actually happened to her.
Yeah, exactly.
But she didn't want to be the only one
to come forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Keanu Reeves is Tom Cruising the shit out of this scene. Like, he goes from either wooden to 11 in Patarion scenes. So she got her friends to lie about it, and he gets them off, and like I said, that's a poor
it's probably... Do you want to try that again?
No, it's fine. You've already buried yourself, I might as well, too.
Yeah. So at this point in the movie, we realize Keanu's accent is horrible.
Yes.
And the only thing that distracts from how bad it is how bad Charlize Theron's accent is, because it's also horrible.
It's really bad. But I mean,
man, I'm from Florida.
Yeah, but she's but it works better when she's in Monster because she doesn't have eyebrows, so it's less distracting. So after getting someone off of a sexual assault of minors, what would be the first thing you would do?
Oh, to party at the bar.
And bite my wife's ass.
He bites Charlene's ass in the middle of the dance floor at this busy bar. So last night, my girlfriend was washing dishes, and I'm watching this movie for the millionth time, but now that I'm taking notes, I, like, notice more things.
Yeah.
I forgot about the ass biting. So I walk into the kitchen, I, like, turn off her podcast, and I'm like, hey, I have a hypothetical question for you. And she's like, what? And I'm like, all right, if I defended a pedophile who was definitely guilty and I knew it, and then he got off free, would you go to a bar with me and do shots and party and let me bite your ass in front of everyone? And she was like, no. And I'm like, oh, good, it's not just me, because that was really weird.
I'm watching that scene. I was like, So then a guy comes up and offers Keanu Reeves a job.
The card is great. The black thing, you being black. Whose idea was that, Paul's?
Can black guys not offer jobs?
It was such a bizarre scene. I had to scan back. I'm like, did I miss a line?
I didn't get it.
Yeah, so the dude comes from New York to offer Keanu Reeves' character a job working at this law firm picking juries.
Yes.
But the whole, like, I don't know, the whole, like, black thing, I went, is that?
I didn't get it.
It is Florida.
I guess. Someone from Florida in the 90s, can someone tell me what that joke, I didn't understand.
And then that's what made me think, I was like, okay, it's John Milton, and now you're taking the Faustian bargain, if you know Faust. So I was like, okay. Very superficial.
Yes, the comic book. I've seen the movie.
Faust,
that's what you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So we meet Keanu Reeves' mother, and she's super into God.
Yes.
She is a Jesus freak.
She is. And the whole movie, I kept thinking it should have been the lady from Sparkle Motion and Donnie Darko.
Donnie Darko, that would have been pretty
She was
good.
Also in like No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
But I feel like they couldn't get her probably. She was doing voices on King of the Hill at that point.
But this girl's pretty good.
Yeah.
This individual experiencing womanness.
Exactly.
Is very good. But she's like very worried about Keanu going to New York.
Yeah.
And like you start to sprinkle things there, like I wonder why she doesn't want him there. So they go to New York, and that's when I noticed the score for this is really good. Is this Jerry Goldsmith?
I think it might be. It's good until it becomes silly.
James Newton Howard.
Oh, all right.
James Newton Howard.
I'm Newton. No, it's good. But it's also the beginning of those time-lapse shots.
Yes, there's a lot of those.
So fucking many of those
there's
time-lapse
so many
shots.
time-lapse
And I'm like, oh my God.
Okay, so he's picking the jury. And at first I'm like, does he have psychic powers?
Yeah.
Because he's all like, that girl there. The guy's like, she's a Catholic school teacher. She's great.
She's my number 6 is my number 1.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, Catholics are known to be flawless.
Yeah.
And he's all like, no, you got to pick that guy. And the guy's like, the guy with dreadlocks? And it's like, all right, again with the racist thing
Again,
here.
I thought about that. I was like, wow, Keanu, why don't you dial it back
No,
a
that wasn't
bit.
Keanu. That was the other guy this time.
But Keanu was like, he sleeps with like a shotgun under his bed.
Oh, yeah.
Very like presumptive of this guy.
So I'm just like, okay, because of the twist later on, which we'll get to, I'm like, does he have some kind of psychic ability?
Because he's like, she's been wronged by someone and she's out for revenge.
Yes.
And he lets her go. And then he goes home after his first day and they're like, they deliberated for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you lost. And he's like, I won. And then
not
like,
guilty! You pointed out he's wearing very high-waisted, ill-fitting pants.
Yes, exactly. Keanu Reeves throughout this entire movie wears like MC Hammer pants almost.
Almost.
Yeah, they're like very high but very baggy. And then the other thing I noticed is this was a very subtle filmmaker thing is his suit gets darker as he starts to buy into the devil. Like the first time I ever remember that in a
The devil's in this movie?
Oh yeah, sorry, I don't know if you knew from all the trailer stuff. Was in Unbreakable?
Yeah.
Is if you ever watch Unbreakable again, Bruce Willis's clothes are like really baggy, but as he starts to realize his powers, everything becomes more straight. And I was like,
funny.
oh, that's a cool, you know.
And then he drowns in a puddle.
And then he drowns in a puddle.
Anyway. Okay, so Keanu goes to the law firm's like main office, the Milton something. He meets all the people there. He sees the gladiator chick.
Connie Nielsen, Wonder Woman's mom.
For our younger viewers.
Yeah.
And she's all like, la la la, I'm an Italian,
Yeah,
blah, blah,
speaking
blah,
a
blah,
different
blah. I'm
language.
actually a Danish, blah, 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 blah. And I was very offended as an Italian by your accent, Connie Nielsen, all right?
I know she's watching this right now.
She watches.
Yeah. She's like, that fucking hacked the movie.
She's like, he's calling me out. and then you played an Italian in Gladiator and you used a British accent. What the fuck, Connie Nelson?
To be fair, everyone in space was British in Star Wars.
Yeah,
so it doesn't really matter.
And like time slows down when he sees her.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So we're out.
And she's also, you ever see her? She's in Red all the time, which is like another.
She is, yeah. So this is where we get the first exchange between Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves in his weird office that looks like a bunker.
Yeah.
And then it opens up. We never see this office again, do we?
No, we don't.
Because then it moves up to his apartment.
Other apartment, yeah.
Then, like, what was the point of showing us the office?
They had that location. They were going to film
so they opened up, and I read, like, so they built that infinity pool stuff, but it was built on top of a skyscraper.
Oh,
so
really?
It's not blue screen. And you can tell because we see a blue screen later in
we
this movie, and it looks
terrible
like, and it looks like
screen.
shit. So that's why that scene looks good. It was 8 feet away from the ledge.
Oh,
how
okay.
they angled it. So I guess the scene with the infinity pool, they show Al Pacino walking like toward the edge, and I guess it's supposed to be an early sign, like, oh, he doesn't fear anything because he's got all these things. But like in my mind, I'm like, oh, that's setting up for someone to get thrown off of. And my friend Adam hit me up, and he was just like, I'm really mad no one got thrown off that pool.
Yeah, exactly.
And like it never happens.
No.
We never even see the pool again.
And then we have the conflict between Al Pacino's overacting and Keanu Reeves' wooden acting, which is very juxtaposition.
When do we talk about money?
Money. Yeah. Well, that's the easy part.
So this is another reason I want to read the book, to see if these lines of dialogue are in there, because I want to know, like, it comes off as comical. I wonder with, like, two actors who were more even, and they're both good actors, but I mean, Keanu had a few rough spots.
But it's hard to go head to head with Dunkachino.
Yes. I want to know if, like, there were two actors whose charisma could kind of level out would these lines work. Because right now, every scene with them is just comical. Like, Al Pacino looks like he's just making shit up, and then Keanu looks like he's struggling to improv.
It's like, remember the scene in Ed Wood where Lugosi, like the other guy, like, I'm Slip Slimopovich, and then Lugosi has to ad-lib, and he's just like a deer in headlights?
Yeah.
And then who comes into the movie next, Tony?
Jeffrey Jones, and everyone knows him as just a really... Don't Google Jeffrey Jones. Delete. Anyway, so he's in the movie, and he's part of, he's part of the law firm.
Yeah.
He's like the manager of the firm. And one of the other guys is the judge from Addams Family.
Addams Family, yeah, which is
great. I saw his mustache, I'm like, I know you.
I know you. You had milk all over your face. And then, so the first thing he's given is Keanu has to defend a health code violation.
Yes.
By Delroy Lindo.
Who went uncredited.
Which is weird. Whenever actors go uncredited and stuff, I'm always like...
I don't think he was uncredited in Congo, which is bizarre.
Exactly.
That's the one you want to go uncredited in.
Because he was murdering a goat in his basement as part of a ritual. He might be magic. We don't know.
Yeah, so like the cops, like it was like a health code thing. They invaded. They broke in with a camera, apparently.
Which, I'm like, this was before cops wore like body cameras and stuff like that.
And he's just like, he's not even like, oh, freeze. He's like, ah!
That goat could have owed him money.
Yeah.
And then we're introduced to Robin, whatever her name is, from Special Victims Unit. She's the autopsy lady.
Who is she in this movie?
She's the neighbor who keeps like her clothes match the colors that she's painting the walls at first.
Yeah,
and
so
I was like, okay.
This starts like a plot line with Charlize.
Yeah.
That we'll get into as we go on, but she's like kind of there just to fuck with Charlize.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
why do you know so much about SVU?
I love SVU.
Oh, okay.
Well, I spent a lot of time where I wasn't employed. And the USA Network will just run 13 hours straight.
They will play
and you just fall down a rabbit hole. It's like, oh, I watched 2 or 3 episodes. And I'm just like, oh, now I know not to how to commit sex crimes.
But yeah, so they don't tempt her into doing evil or anything. Yeah. They just kind of mess with
just
her head.
Screwing with her, yeah.
So he goes to meet Delroy Lindo in the basement of a spooky shop. Yeah. And there's like a homeless guy warning him.
Yeah, across the street, yeah.
Yeah, and then a magic lady makes a dog stop barking, and then there's all these candles underground, which I think that's a violation.
Yeah.
And Delroy's just sitting there, and they're like, he's all like, oh, you're gonna defend me, cool, let me put some nails in this tongue.
Yeah, he just pulls a tongue out of a thing and just sprinkles nails around it.
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves is like, well, it's New York, they're different here, you know.
Yeah.
And then the next day they're in court, and the guy who's on the opposition just starts coughing.
Okay, so is Delroy Lindo like a Satanist? Satanist. Do they have very specific, is Satan worshiper?
There we go. But then it's like voodoo or hoodoo or whatever you call it is not the same as that. It's just a different form of religion. So is like, I guess Al Pacino's just connected with all dark arts maybe, and he has something to do about that. And then Delroy Lindo, like, he's like, oh, he lives in like the basement under this bodega. He's like, yeah, but he's got like $50 million. And they're like, oh, okay, nothing weird about that. Like, so a lot of this can just be explained as like people from Florida don't know what New York is like.
So like, you could have played this to where like, oh, maybe he is the devil, but every single religion's version of the devil is kind of the same. Yeah. But then at the end, it's very clear he's the Catholic
just the Judeo-Christian devil.
So I don't understand how he connects to Delroy Lindo's.
But and then my favorite thing of just like another just blunt hit over the head is Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves are walking, and there's just a dude walking behind them with a box that says Halo Lighting, and I was like, ooh.
I didn't bother. That probably had nothing to do with anything, but I didn't bother.
It just made me laugh.
So Al Pacino ad-libs this line. He's actually giving good advice. He's like, hey, so he tells him about Delroy Lindo. Yeah. And he's like, that's your problem, kid. The look of you. You're very vain. You like to show off. Like, you have to be more like me. No one would expect
Yeah,
to
they
be
never
this guy.
see him coming.
But his analogy, his like story tells is like, I was with this hot girl.
Yeah, and I banged her that she couldn't walk, and she looked
she's
back.
trying to walk,
Yeah.
and it felt like the Roman. And she looks back and she sees little old me. They never see me coming. I'm like, did he ad lib that? That's weird.
They're just like, just let him talk.
This is like what old men would find.
We're paying him so much money. Just let him just run film on him. Oh, and then they bring up something that would have been way more interesting than anything in this movie.
Yes.
There's a chicken. Plays tic-tac-toe, never loses. He's famous.
But they don't show us the tic-tac-toe chicken.
Like, what the fuck? Why aren't you showing me that?
The whole rest of the movie should have been Devil versus Tic-Tac-Toe Chicken.
Like, why? That would have been a cool little...
It's like that Ingmar Bergman movie where he's playing chess against the devil, or like against death. And I was like, that should have been the movie. So I did my notes and you did your notes, and you messaged me late at night to say, wow, our notes were very similar.
Yes.
Because great minds clearly think alike.
Yes.
But this scene is where things get problematic.
So he's ready to get into the party, and Charlize is like, do I look nice? And he's like, you look nice, baby girl. And she's like, don't leave me alone in there. And there's nothing more annoying than a girlfriend that doesn't want to be left alone during a party.
Yeah.
It's like,
I have to be glued to you at all times. Now, granted, no woman wants to be anywhere near me, as I've learned. So I already know where the sad end of Newt's going to be in a couple years when you watch this video and you go, oh, he was mildly funny. And then you find out that I died alone and my cat ate my eyes and I'm just a bloated corpse when they find me. So that's where I'm going.
Anyway, so that's right away. I got like Nom-style flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like, don't leave me alone. I'm afraid to talk to people. And it's like, well, why are we going to a party?
Exactly.
So we get there, and like every evil person is at this party.
So Jeffrey Jones is the first person we see when we get to the party. They introduce you to a bunch of Republican, New York scumbag Republican senators.
Well, I mean, not all. Hashtag
the
not all.
Characters were scumbags.
Okay, you know, Hack the Movies has a very diverse audience.
It was Lincoln's party.
Yes, thank you very much. So yeah, they're there.
But I mean, a lot's changed since then. It's like saying Academy Award-winning actor Nicolas Cage.
So yeah, they're there, and then there's a guy who's like, "I'm selling weapons.
Yeah,
selling nuclear."
Oh,
stuff.
the dude, that guy looks like. Look it up. He looks like the dude who owns the Jacksonville Jaguars football team.
Oh, Tony Khan? Or Tony Khan's his son. The guy who runs AEW, I think they own the Jaguars.
Well, the dude who owns the Jaguars looks like a vaudeville strongman.
Okay.
And this guy kind of looked like that.
Okay.
And the way they framed him was like super weird too. And I was like, I get it, he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But the way that they're having conversations like reminded me of a Neil Breen movie I was saying to you earlier. It's like,
they're being
we are
so
the bad guys.
Yes.
We sell guns to foreign countries.
The one girl who works at the law firm, she's like, I know a reporter who will make a fake story to ruin his career, and then he'll come crawling.
Yeah. And then who didn't show up to the party?
Yeah, this is the weirdest one to me. It doesn't make any sense. So the same girl, she's like, Donald Trump was going to come tonight, but he had a business emergency, probably so-and-so. And I thought it was bizarre. Like, why would Donald Trump be associated with the devil when old ladies on my Facebook say that God chose him to be president?
Yeah, I didn't get that either. I was like, I mean, it could be fake.
Do not say fake news. We're in an election year. Tensions are high. Stop talking about Trump, you drunk bastards. Delete. And they meet on the worst green or blue screen I've ever seen.
Remember the opening scene of Sin City with Josh Hartnett?
Yeah.
Where they're out on a balcony?
Yeah.
And it's supposed to look like Frank Miller's artwork?
Yes.
That looked more realistic than this scene.
This scene, like, especially for this time, like, I would have accepted this maybe in, like, a movie 10 years earlier.
Exactly.
Like, even good movies, like, Last Crusade, and Hunt for Red October have real dodgy blue screen.
Yeah, but this is so Keanu Reeves go out to talk to Christabella and they're flirting with each other and all, and it's so bad.
Could they not just get a balcony? Like, it's weird. It's like
they spent all the money on the pool that they didn't use.
I guess it's distractingly bad. Okay, so here we go.
And I didn't know about this next thing until today.
Yeah. Actually, before we get to that, Al Pacino tries to I didn't catch this until I looked up the trivia for it. Al Pacino tells Charlize Theron she has to change her hair to feel better. And what he's doing is making her change her hair so she looks less like Christabella. Because they both have the same hair. I didn't catch on to that.
I didn't catch
See, there's
that
some
either.
cool ideas.
Yeah,
and that's tied to the...
That scene between the two of them is actually really good. He's like behind her, whispering in her ear, kind of like the devil on your shoulder kind of thing. And he's like, oh, you should pull your hair up. You should do these kind of things.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's... He's good in some scenes. He's good in this whole movie.
Yes. So we get to his office. Keanu walks in, and they show a shot of the sculpture that's just swirling stone.
Yeah.
And they linger on it for a bit, as if we're supposed to be amazed by it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's an impressive looking sculpture. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, I don't know if you noticed, as the characters walk past the sculpture,
their hair gets all fucked up.
Their hair gets all fucked up like they're rotoscoped.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I forgot to write down the name of the sculpture. I think it's like...
Well, now he's going to sue us, and this episode's going to get altered.
It's like Ex-Neo or something.
Yeah.
So this artist, I think his last name's Hart, he made a sculpture, I think it's called Creation. I forget what the Latin name is. And it's at some cathedral in New York or something. And it's like a bunch of bodies in stone. It's supposed to represent creation.
Yeah.
So this movie had a very similar sculpture. And he accused them of ripping him off and changing the context of his thing. It led to a legal battle. So the theatrical version it was in, the only way you can see the theatrical version is if you manage to find like a rental store copy of Devil's Advocate. So they made it to rental stores with the original thing, but they had to slap a sticker on because they lost their court. They settled. And they're like, hey, the statue in this movie has nothing to do with anything. And now this version, and when it finally hit home video after rental, it was digitally altered.
Yeah.
And they had to use other cuts to work around. Like, clearly they wanted to frame a lot of the stuff around it.
Yeah, because it was cool looking.
Yeah. You see a little bit of it at the end when they kind of have to, but like, so it's just real bizarre the way it is now.
But Warner Brothers had to track down every copy
and they missed a couple. They're on
Yeah.
Amazon for $90.
But it's like you see those things like this guy's trying to buy every copy of Jerry Maguire or something like that.
So yeah, that's like real bizarre what happened there.
So they go up into his office because Coach Craig T. Nelson, the dad from The Incredibles, murdered his wife and his kid.
Her son.
So it was a triple homicide. Yeah, that's the hat trick in the murder community.
Yes. And I forget who else. Or the like not a maid or like some guy.
Yeah.
So he's being accused of that, and they have to like defend him. Keanu gets back to his wife after finding this out, and she's freaking out because he left her alone.
Stop, reset, and I was like, that never works.
Every time I see this, I think she's just being really irrational.
Yeah.
I looked up, there is a deleted scene. So at the party, she's like looking for him.
Yeah.
And she finds these like degenerates at a three-way, and they like invite her to be part of it. So she has it in her mind that he's doing weird sex stuff.
Yeah, now that he's like in this world,
I think that would have helped this scene a little bit, because now it just makes her seem kind of bitchy.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, no, I think
she's like, hey, thanks for taking me out of Florida to bring me to New York and introduce me to high society. Dick.
But like if we saw that scene of her being freaked out, being like, oh my god, is he doing this? Like
exactly,
these weirdos, it would have worked a little bit better.
But then you have Charlize Theron goes to like try on dresses with these other women, and like they're like taking off their clothes in front of her and stuff like that, and she's like, oh, my tits are fake, you would never know, touch them or whatever.
And they didn't really look like...
No, whatever. I mean, now I know what the SVU ladies, the autopsy ladies boobs look like, so, you know, that's good. But then, like, as they're, like, taking clothes off, they have, like, demon faces, and she, like, freaks out. It was subtle enough that it worked in those scenes. I liked, like, the double mouth thing that they have, was
and then, like,
cool.
there's a hand under her boob, which we can't show the clip of.
It looked like this, though.
But, like, it's weird. So, like, again, we already know he's the devil.
Yeah.
So, like, I get what, like, Pacino's trying to do to Keanu. Like, tempt him, give him these choices to see if he picks the wrong one.
Yeah.
What are they trying to do with Charlize? Like,
I guess
no,
just
like,
to make her look crazy.
Yeah, but,
and apparently she went and, like, she, like, went and studied people with schizophrenia and stuff like that.
But it doesn't really work with what he says later, unless he's a liar, which the devil's known to do.
Exactly. But then, Charlize Theron isn't wrong. Okay.
Yes.
She's in a new place with all these strange new people, and her husband, who was used to be all there for her, is pulled away. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm playing devil's advocate too.
Yeah. Yes. We're all devil's advocate today.
So after the stop, relax, and all this kind of stuff, she's basically like put a baby in me.
Yeah.
And so they start like having sex, and it's kind of cool because you see like between the cuts, like sometimes it's Christabella, and he gets really excited.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's Charlize Theron, and he's like, he sucks her toe.
Yeah, so he goes right, as soon as it's Christabella, he's like, I gotta suck this chick's toe.
Yeah.
And I was like, no offense to people with foot
who
fetishes.
Yeah, Quentin Tarantino is watching this, which
Quentin
I'm sure
Tarantino
he
definitely
is.
watches this.
You ever just see somebody's life and go, I hate you? Like, I at work every day, I have certain things I have to do. Keanu Reeves woke up on that day and said, I gotta make out with Charlize Theron and Connie Nielsen.
Yeah.
You know?
If anyone can find this, let me know.
Yeah.
They really draw attention to a scar on his stomach. Which I don't think that's real.
No, I actually typed into Google shirtless Keanu Reeves, and he doesn't have that, so...
Yeah. So he just has this big scar, and I looked up alternate versions of this movie. I looked up director's cut. I looked up deleted scenes, and I couldn't find
And I was looking for, like, biblical passages about the Antichrist and stuff like
I'm wondering, is this something from the book that maybe was in the script at one time?
And they just removed it, or is it a deleted scene, maybe? Like, when he's talking to his mom, maybe he's talking about, like, a scar he got or something.
Yeah, it's weird. They never explain it. They're like, really? I never noticed it until last night.
No, because you asked me about it. I was like, yeah, I thought that was weird, too. So the next day, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but they filmed this scene at Donald Trump's real apartment. Now, all the gold gaudiness gave it away, but you might not have gotten it. So
I didn't see it as gaudy. I thought it was very lavishing and very, very... Don't compliment Trump's interior design choices. What the hell's wrong with you? Delete!
So Craig T. Nelson's character is like, this guy's a rube, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Keanu Reeves, like, kicks into lawyer gear.
Yeah.
And he's like, and now that he's like, oh, well, he's a good lawyer. Like, I like this guy now.
Yeah. Okay, so they, apparently Keanu's mom shows up.
And what's the name of the building?
Babylon.
Because, as I said in my notes, subtlety does not exist in this dojo.
She mentioned Babylon earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Sodom and Gomorrah, whatever.
Sodom and Gomorrah, No, she mentions Babylon earlier.
I think she did,
when she's saying about New York,
Yeah. So they're like in there, and then Al Pacino's like, "Speak of the devil!"
Yeah, and I was like, get it?
And then he's like, they get in the elevator guy. He's like constantly staring at Al Pacino's mom or Keanu's mom, and he's like, "Oh, did you raise him alone? Must have been hard
to not have a father."
Yeah, and and she's giving him a look. He's like, "Have you ever been in New York before?" And then she doesn't answer, and right away I'm like,
oh, okay. Well,
Al Pacino is Keanu's father. It's like they couldn't have made it more obvious. Like, I mean, now it makes sense because he kind of looks like Al Pacino from The Godfather, Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
But like when you watch it, you're like, oh, he's his father.
Connie Nielsen and that Asian girl are like making out. Giselle are making out in the background, and just as the elevator closed, he does this like little tongue flick, like a snake, and I was like, that's a good. I like that.
Here's the thing, though, like. The way you watch it before you know everything, you assume he's gonna Al Pacino's gonna screw both of them.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Hey, you want to come up?" And it's like, to watch you?
Yeah.
Like, what are you offering me?
Yeah,
here?
exactly. Am I doing you and they're watching?
Yeah.
Like,
but then Charlize gets pissed at him, which again, now that I've read the deleted scene, this makes more sense.
Yes.
But when I watched it, I'm like, what's more annoying than a girlfriend who doesn't want you to leave her alone at the party? A girlfriend who's accusing you of cheating when you're not cheating. That happened to me.
So then Keanu Reeves goes back to the office and he sees Jeffrey Jones probably committing a crime.
Yeah, he's shredding a lot of documents.
But then I thought anytime you walk in a room where Jeffrey Jones is, a crime was probably being committed. And they're having a conversation about character development stuff. And these two like Spanish guys are like, move, and he's like, get on, this is my car, and he's like, I like this car, and he's like,
we're having a good time,
and then like the dude pulls a knife, and then Al Pacino starts speaking to him in Spanish and telling him that his wife is smoking crack with a dude and doing butt stuff, and he uses her name and the friend's name, and the guy's like, oh, this is strange.
He's like, they're on your green bedspread.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, he must be right, and they just leave.
And then like he's gonna murder him. Like, oh wow, the guy who gets mad at people staring at him is gonna murder his girlfriend. That sounds about right.
But then, and he just tells the dude to go kill his girlfriend and his friend, and then he tells him, what does he tell?
Yeah, Keanu's like, what did you say to him?
Yeah.
And he's like, I told him you'd kick his ass. Yeah. It was an actual match, and during it, Don King shows up.
And you said it, I said it too. I was like, I don't think Don King knew that there was a camera on him.
Yeah.
He just saw Al Pacino and just walked towards him.
And then they told him, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll be in a movie.
I'll be in a movie.
Al Pacino is like using his psychic powers. He's like, you're from Michigan.
And the girl's like, how do you know I was from Michigan?
And then they're like talking, and then you see Al Pacino go like, and the girl just starts blowing him in the restaurant.
In front of everybody while he's making direct eye contact with his employee.
Who's also his son.
Yeah.
Hasn't been revealed yet, but we know. And look, we've all had fun. The story about me getting a blowjob in front of people in college is more information than anyone needed to know, so, delete. Yeah.
Charlize Theron is sleeping.
Right.
And she hears a sound.
Yeah.
And she wakes up and she's going through their palatial apartment that he got for her.
Yes.
And there's just...
Well, it was given to them.
Oh, given to them.
By Al Pacino.
And there's just like a naked baby in a room that has no furniture.
Yes.
And she's like, hey, baby, where's your mama? How'd you get in my empty apartment that was given to me by Al Pacino? And then and then the baby just like holds up entrails.
Yes.
And then she realizes that like her lady parts are bleeding in her outfit. And then she's telling about how like her sister has like 8 kids and they took her ovaries out and stuff like that. So now she can't have
she
kids.
said she went to the doctor. Well, the doctor says, hey, you have some issue with your ovaries.
Yeah.
But she starts the conversation with like, they took out my ovaries.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well, you tell me 2 different things
Exactly. Maybe we get a second opinion. And then you said Monica Keena plays Craig T. Nelson's stepdaughter. I didn't notice that.
Yes, I didn't notice it until I looked at the credits.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, Monica Keena's in this? Monica Keena is in a bunch of stuff, not big stuff. Her biggest thing is probably Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, and she was on Undeclared.
Yes.
Yeah, the Judd Apatow show.
Man, she was babe.
Yeah. We should do Freddy vs. Jason. I actually like that movie.
We're going to do all the Jason movies. So Monica Keena is Craig T. Nelson's stepdaughter.
Yes.
Who he's very concerned and wants to spend time with.
Yes.
And there's a thing there.
I wonder why.
But then he like lets out that, I was look, I wasn't there that night. I was sleeping with my secretary. She wasn't even that good of a fuck. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, all right.
This whole thing, like, I know they're supposed to be sleazy dudes, but it feels like it was written by sleazy dudes.
Yeah, it's like Mr. Incredible wouldn't say that.
Yeah, you hear that? The writer of Rogue One's a sleazy dude.
I like it better when Craig T. Nelson is screaming in elderly men's faces, you son of a bitch, you left the bodies and you only moved the headstones. And then, so Pacino actually gives him good advice. Yeah,
so Pacino's like, hey, look, your wife is going through a hard time. You can walk away from this case. It's like, I've lost before. Like, no one will blame you. You got a lot going on.
His vanity, he says to him, I would do it, but then I would hate her.
Yeah. She gets better and then I hate her for it.
Exactly. And I was like, I get it.
Yes.
I understand.
Yes. But like Al Pacino did give him advice.
Exactly.
And this is one of the good devil things I like that he does. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, so Jeffrey Jones runs into Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And it turns out Keanu is on the law firm's charter.
Yeah.
And apparently he's been there for many, many years. I wonder, it's because he's his son.
Yeah.
We already we already know.
But they're like, maybe, and then Jeffrey Jones, who's jogging in Dockers.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really weird. And he's like, maybe I'll just talk to that FBI guy about it.
Or something. Yeah.
And then he runs away. He's jogging in the same spot in Ghostbusters 2, where they catch the jogging ghost in the montage. And I just like to imagine, because Jeffrey Jones is jogging and, Al Pacino's talking, so something bad's gonna happen because he's gonna.
Yeah, Al Pacino's doing this monologue about Eddie or whatever his name is, and he's like, "Yeah, you did this, and life's gonna come at you, and it's coming." And actually, before that, Keanu's like, "Yeah, I'm real worried about him." He's like, "Oh, hey, you need to get Eddie." And it's like, oh, that's a double meaning.
So he's jogging, and then you see like joggers turn into the Predator when he's cloaked.
They turn invisible. And then they turn non-invisible, and he runs away from them.
And then demon homeless people kill Jeffrey Jones.
And Charlize Theron's watching the whole time.
Somehow she's able to see it from her window.
Yes.
And her reaction shots are like, no! Ah!
Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe New York does have a homeless problem.
I do like those
they killed a pedophile. That's
you know
fine.
what? That might get us flagged. They killed a Cuties fan.
They killed a Cuties fan.
They killed that Cuties
but
fan.
he did become the ghost from Ghostbusters 2, and
Yes.
Bill Murray said, bye-bye, and that's how that ended.
Another time lapse.
Yeah. Oh, another time-lapse shot. There's so many of them. We should have taken a drink every time there was one of those.
Yes.
We'd be drunker than we're not now.
Yes, we're not drunk. So he's interviewing Craig T. Nelson's secretary or assistant or whatever,
Yeah. Who he said he slept with.
and he's like, you had a marathon for 3 hours,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And he's asking her questions that he thinks the other lawyer's going to ask. And he goes, is he circumcised? And she can't answer.
Yeah.
And they're like, you've been sleeping with him for months?
And you don't know if he's cut?
And then she yells at him.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's when he realizes that Craig T. Nelson's lying. Mm-hmm. And so what happened, they mentioned it a little bit, but they did cut out that they were going through a divorce. Mm-hmm. And the whole problem was, like, his wife knew that he was having an affair, which would lead to him losing everything. Mm-hmm. They hint on it a little bit, but they don't establish it well enough. So apparently she didn't sleep with him. Mm-hmm. So Keanu's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So that's a little weird. But, like, if you're gonna get someone to pretend to sleep with you and she's on board with this plan,
maybe she should know the inner details of
you don't
things.
have to show her. Just tell her. Just tell her.
Look, I'm circumcised, just in case it comes up. And then I noticed that I did the math.
Yes.
So, including the Getty case,
which is the
beginning, the pedophile
the
guy,
Cuties fan from the beginning.
Cuties fan, not Jeffrey Jones, the other Cuties fan in this movie. He had won 64 cases. Then when he gets to New York, he wins 2 more. That's 66.
Oh.
And 666 is the number of the beast.
You know, sometimes in dreams, it's upside down, like 19.
Oh my God. He goes home and they tell him that his wife isn't there. She got taken to, she went to a church.
Yes. The church of, hold on.
Oh, I took it out of the notes.
Oh.
It was like the church of like the holy something or other.
Like the Holy
Hope or whatever.
Yeah.
The Great White Hope. Wasn't that a boxing movie?
That's Great White Hype.
Oh.
Great White Hope is Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson's nickname for President Donald. Oh, Jesse Lee Peterson. What? I have no idea who that is or why I said his name. He's definitely not a controversial figure at all. Don't look him up. Delete.
And she's like a wreck, and she says that Al Pacino came over and like raped her.
Well,
and
she says fucked her and that she wanted it, but then it seemed like I don't think the guys knew like what rape, like what counts as rape.
Mm-hmm. And that he like cut her up.
Yeah, and he's like, I was with him the entire
time.
So I guess he has cloning powers.
That is one of the devil's powers. Is clone. He's like Dr. Manhattan.
So he takes her to get committed to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And Charlize Theron's like, oh my God, we're such bad people. And he's like, what you talking about, darn tootin'?
Yeah.
And he's just shooting guns. I don't know, weird. But she's all like, all those people we defended when we knew they were guilty and we took the money. It was blood money.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you were playing devil's advocate. It's like the title, but she doesn't say that, but she might as well say that.
It's like in the Family Guy episode, it's like Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, he said it.
But it turns out he's really the devil's advocate because he's working for the literal devil.
Exactly.
It's got a double meaning.
Yeah, so we get to the church for the funeral.
Yes.
Where Jeffrey Jones' funeral,
yes,
and Al Pacino is in the back, and Craig T. Nelson is sitting in front of him with like this other woman.
No, the stepdaughter.
The stepdaughter.
So it turns out he was probably sleeping with the stepdaughter.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's like rubbing her back. Mm-hmm. And to drive this point home, for like a second, he turns
into the guy from the beginning.
The Cuties fan from the beginning of the movie.
So Keanu like storms out of the church.
Yes.
And Al Pacino is standing in the back of the church. And he goes over to he's looking at all like the religious sculptures, like, and he goes over to the holy water, and he goes to stick his finger in, and he looks at the camera and smiles, and the camera like pulls back, and I was like, that's great. That was fantastic. I love that.
Yes.
We've now crossed into pure camp at this point.
Yes.
You know, so Keanu Reeves goes outside, and the FBI guy is there.
Yeah.
and he basically exposition drops everything.
Yeah, it's like, it gets a little ridiculous. Like, Milton's just more than a law firm. He's dealing with businesses. He's running guns from this and drugs from this and nuclear arms here.
But then he says
he's involved in everything.
And then he says toxic waste, and I just imagine that the leader of that is Luton. Luton Plunder, from the bad guy from Captain America, is part of this like web. And I don't know why that's the first thing I thought of.
Yeah,
Captain Planet was a show before you guys were born.
Yeah, Ted Turner made it.
Ted Turner made it because
Ted Turner wanted to make it the same time he wanted to rule wrestling.
Yeah, but there was also a time when people actually like cared about the planet.
But the one big thing he tells Keanu Reeves, he's like, I looked into you, by the way, that Cuties fan you defended.
Yeah.
And Keanu Reeves says, what's Cuties?
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, it's a Netflix movie. And Keanu Reeves goes, what's Netflix? Anyway.
Wow, Blockbuster should really buy them.
Yeah. So that Cuties fan you defended, they found a 10-year-old girl in his trunk. So he's upgraded to murder?
Yeah.
You'd think if you came that close, you'd probably lay low for a bit.
Back away for a while.
But he's like, you know what? I think I could get away with murder.
Double down.
And then he became the sheriff on True Blood.
Yes, exactly. And then, so the devil summons a car accident.
Yes.
And just runs this dude over.
Yes, much like the devil in End of Days summons the truck. Oh, so the holy water burns him, but Don King's
necklace doesn't. And I thought the same thing when I was watching, because Don King's wearing a big cross necklace. But I was like, wait, so the holy water burns when he touches it? Because I wished if they didn't show the holy water burning, because we get it. But he puts his finger in it, it starts to bubble, and then when it does that, the dude gets hit by the car. But I was like, the devil's powers are so inconsistent in all these movies.
Maybe not as bad as End of Days.
Yeah.
Where it's like he can blow things up with his mind, but only once.
Yeah. It's tiring. Yeah. You know?
But yeah, so the Don King's cross doesn't burn him. That's why I think maybe Don King just showed up.
Yeah.
Or else they, what's Al Pacino going to do? Ad-lib like, ah!
Yeah. Oh, I got to cover up my cross.
Yeah.
Hoo-ha.
The lady from the law firm, the older lady.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Keanu's mom's like, I gotta tell you about your father. And the audience is like, we know.
Your dad is
So then
Al
the lady's like, oh, look how pretty you are in the mirror. And then she's like, demon face.
Uh-huh.
And Charlize is like, I'm done with the demon face.
I want out of this movie.
So she locks the door and she like slices her throat.
she breaks the thing and she uses it and she slices her throat. What's funny about it is I was visiting a friend at college who went to school at Akron, Ohio, and we walk into this dude's room at his house they live in, and I'm like, hey, what are you watching? He's like, some Charlize Theron movie, and she slices her throat and he goes, it's Keanu Reeves' movie now.
And she's like, hey, don't worry, he'll take all that pain away. Go see Milton. And then it's actually a pretty cool shot, and I know they've done it in other movies. They might have ripped it off, but other movies have done it. I know Vanilla Sky did it. Phantasm 4 did something like this, but
28 Days Later.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 28 Days Later. But like he's just like in New York, and it's just this whole street is just empty.
Yeah, and it's like Broadway too. He's just oh no, Times Square. He's just walking.
Well, no, it's not Times Square.
I thought that was the big
Times Square is Vanilla Sky. He's somewhere in New York.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you been to New York in a while?
No.
Okay.
There's no reason to anymore.
I've been to New York a lot over the last few years. I'm not sure where he is, but it's definitely not Times Square.
But he's walking somewhere in New York.
Yes.
And he's the only one there.
Yeah, and it's like completely empty.
desolate.
And then they do a cool wide shot where it looks even emptier, and I'm wondering like how, I'm sure it's a matte shot and stuff. Like I'm sure they blocked off that stretch of road.
Yeah.
Might not even.
I'm sure the people of New York love that. They love being inconvenienced.
They all love that.
So he goes to confront Milton. Al
Pacino.
Al Pacino. I keep wanting to call him just Al Pacino.
Yes, and he's just full on bad guy now.
Oh yeah, now he's like, oh, he's coming. It's time for me to just really.
So then he says something. He says, "I'm no puppeteer, Kevin. I don't make things happen." And that would have been cool if you were like to look back at the movie and like, oh yeah, he did tell him to not do that. He did tell him to not do this. He did suggest this, but then he chose other ways. And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool. And then it's like, oh wait. No, he also summoned homeless demons.
And had a car run over a guy.
Yeah, and put demon boobs on the SVU lady. Like, you can't, it's one or the other.
Nope.
One or the other.
You can't have it both ways, Al Pacino.
Yes.
Fuck you! Oh, got me!
What an American way of thinking that I can shoot the devil.
Maybe, like, he thinks he could kill the body the devil's inhabiting.
But it's not Gabriel Byrne. he's the devil. Oh, and Keanu Reeves still has his wife's blood all over his shirt and collar.
And Pacino he's not even trying to be subtle anymore.
No.
He is full on overacting, screaming.
Yes.
He is 5 seconds away from literally chewing the scenery.
He went Big Boy Caprice. That was his Dick Tracy character at this point, where it's just like, hey, you're a cartoon character now.
I love that. I'm a fan of it.
The 20th century was all me.
That's the last thing to go. It's the final fig leaf. It's like, what the fuck?
God is a landlord. He's like a landlord.
An absentee landlord. So Christabella shows up.
Yes. And here's the big other reveal.
Yes.
The girl that he's been lusting, the woman.
The individual experiencing
womanhood.
Or womanhood, whatever.
Who's Wonder Woman's mom.
Yes.
Was his half-sister.
Yes.
Because he's had kids all over the world since the time of the Morning Star, basically, you know? So he finds out that she's his sister, and she's totally on board with all of this.
Yeah.
And
I really want to know what her story was.
Yeah.
Like, she's, like, really into this.
Mm-hmm. She's, like, lighting black candles and, like, setting up an altar and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, so she's your sister, and I need somebody to take over the throne, so why don't you pop up on that altar there and give it to your half-sister real good.
Yeah, well, I like how, like, Keanu keeps trying to use, like, familiar words. He's like, who are you? And he's like, you're Satan. He's like, I'm a little more than that. No. First he says, I'm your dad. He goes, I'm a little more than that. And then he goes, Satan. And then he's like, call me dad.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, which one do you want him to call you? So Keanu Reeves went from ass eating to toe sucking, and now he's just into incest. He really is the son of the devil.
Yeah,
he's
it's
really
just like,
into
look,
kinky shit.
Keanu. Somewhere Lawrence Fishburne's like, maybe he's not the one. Like,
So like, you know, the devil's like, millennium's coming because much like he wants to beat in my mind, both these movies are accurate. Yeah. And he wants to beat the Gabriel Byrne devil.
Well, he does, because he is the way better devil. Way more charismatic devil. But you know what? My favorite devil is actually in another Keanu movie. I love the devil in Constantine.
Oh, you like the Constantine
The guy
movie?
from Fargo and Armageddon.
Yeah. He's Peter Stormare.
Yes, he's one of my favorite movie devils of all time.
Oh, really?
I love that end scene. Like, I thought I was going to have problems with that movie because John Constantine's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
But like him and Tilda Swinton as Gabriel, I was like, this is great, you know?
I really like Viggo Mortensen in The Prophecy.
Oh, yeah.
I really like his devil. Because his devil's not the bad guy in the movie. We'll get to The Prophecy one day.
That movie's super underraid, first
We're
off.
going to talk about The Prophecy.
But the whole
not the bear movie
Not the bear movie.
That's
with
Prophecy.
Yes.
The Prophecy is Christopher Walken.
Well, because that movie has a thing in it that's super creepy and scary if you are a religious person.
Yeah.
That heaven and hell are closed.
Yeah.
And they have been since the war.
Yeah.
So if you die, you just rot in the ground. I was like, that's terrifying if you're a religious person.
Yes. So Millennium's coming, and then they actually quote Milton.
Yeah, it's better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven, which is book 1, line 263.
Yeah.
I wrote that down because I have a whole thing on my computer because I'm a failed screenwriter, and I just have these buzz things and a list that I can just pull to make it sound like my scripts are more, like, thought out than they are, and that was actually one of them. I was like, oh, I can use one of them!
So then Pacino's like, hey, bang your sister, she's ovulating!
Yeah, which I was like, ooh.
Yeah, he makes out with her, and he's like, I wanted to be with you since I met you. And it's like, his wife's blood is still on his shirt. Him. It's not even dry. For a second, the sculpture turns into what it did look like before, but that's because now there were actors in it. And it reminded me of Wishmaster. It's actually kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Where, like, the statues are like, oh, they start, like, moving.
Kind of
and
like
then,
end of Nightmare on Elm Street 5 as well, where the chest is all like the movie. You know, that was I gotta kind of get that vibe to it a little bit.
And then it turns into like a liquid thing.
Yeah,
and there's like bodies having sex and stuff.
Yeah, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It would be an honor to have Al Pacino there while I have sex, and like, you know, he can narrate it and his like. He just makes things up like he did in this movie, you know?
Yeah.
I would be okay with that. I would tell people. I would come to work and I'd walk into a meeting and go, hey, can I tell you guys something real quick? And they're like, we're kind of talking about facts and figures and numbers and analytics. And I'd be like, Al Pacino watched me have sex. And they would be like, we're not paying you unemployment. You can get out.
Yeah, so the Keanu, and I actually do like this.
I didn't expect this. And I thought that it was pretty good. Like, yeah.
I like Keanu, like, kind of, like, plays into him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, by the way, free will. And then he just, without a hesitation, blows his brain down.
But the way he falls, and then the music gets silly, and then we go...
There's so much happening before he hits the ground.
Yes. It becomes Spawn. It becomes the movie
It really
Spawn.
does. But, like, yeah, so Al Pacino starts screaming. He's on fire. Christabella's like, then
she turns into the zombie that they have strapped to the table in Return of the Living Dead.
Yes.
He's like, I can feel myself rot.
The statues are like, no!
Yeah.
And then, like, Keanu falls to the ground. Everything's on fire. And then I like the beginning of this.
Yes.
Where Pacino morphs into Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
And it's like, oh.
And they apparently used a life cast of his face from Godfather that Rick Baker did to make him look younger. I was like, oh, that was a cool effect.
Yeah.
But then
he grows angel wings.
Yes.
And it's like...
And then there's like a portal of fire that's all CGI.
Yeah, so here's the angel wings, if I remember right.
Yeah.
They were introduced, like what we know as angels, like humans with wings, I think that's introduced in the Renaissance.
Yeah.
Like the Bible's version of angels are horrifying.
Yes.
They're like, yes, it was a spinning wheel with eyes on fire and it had a lion's head and a goat head.
Yeah.
And it screamed at me and it knew all my fears. And then it said, hey, you 16-year-old girl, you're pregnant with God. Tell your husband. But then,
I thought it was Alan Rickman who showed up and told you those things.
Yeah, but then I guess at some point they started painting angels as humans with wings. So then the wings show up, and I get he's a fallen angel, but it would have been cool if the wings were on fire.
Yeah, like devil or like bat wings or something instead of angel wings,
something like that. But then you're right; it looks like the tunnel from hell and Spawn. And then I hate this ending.
Yes.
It goes back in time.
So he snaps out of it at the bathroom sink where he took his wedding ring off in the beginning.
Yes.
And he's back in the trial for the
Cuties fan.
And the girl from Welcome to the Dollhouse.
Yes.
And Scream 3. She was in Scream 3 as well, yeah.
So yeah, he's back. And he's like, like he has all his memories, I guess. And then, which by the way, if he has all his memories, wouldn't you be like, hey, by the way, I know who the devil is.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, is the Pope there?
Yeah, hey, Pope, I got some news.
How did you get to this number, Keanu Reeves?
Oh, my God. So he goes back to the case, and he lets the judge know. He's like, guys, I don't want to watch Cuties.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
What's Cuties? It's a thing on Netflix. Don't worry about it.
The dude's like, what are you doing to me? And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't be this guy's lawyer. I think he's guilty. And then he leaves, and they're like, you're beat disbarred, blah, blah, blah. And then, the press guy from earlier...
Who told him you're going to lose sometime.
Yeah. He was like, hey, what you did was amazing. I got to do a story about it. And he's like, well, I don't know. And he's like, no, this is like a lawyer with the conscience. It's like, you're going to be a celebrity, a star. And then Keanu Reeves is like, all right, we'll talk tomorrow. Let me know. And then, horrible morph effect.
Yeah.
And as good as the previous morph effect is, this one is shit.
Bad.
And it's Al Pacino, and he's like, vanity. Definitely my favorite sin.
Yeah.
And then, it fades to black, and as it's fading to black, he goes, ha, ha, ha.
Now, it's a movie about the devil, okay?
Yes.
And they're going to play a Rolling Stones song.
Yes.
What song do you think they should play?
Well, probably Sympathy for the Devil.
No, they play Paint It Black at the end.
It's so weird.
I was waiting, and I was like, and I just writing my notes, and then you said, I thought the same thing. I was like, that's low-hanging fruit there.
I know.
That's the apple in the Garden of Eden.
If you can get a Rolling Stones song, why would you not try it?
In a movie about the devil.
Maybe it costs more. I don't know. Maybe a different
But
label
it's Warner
owns
Brothers, and they've given Al Pacino all the money to be in this movie.
If Stir of Echoes can get it.
Well, they used the GOB version.
One,
yeah, that's a great movie. We should talk about
Stir of Echoes.
Yeah,
I never saw the second one.
Rob Lowe is in it.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a story about Rob Lowe.
But I can't.
I was supposed to tell it with Dick Masterson on his show, and then we forgot. So for a year, people have been wondering what our Rob Lowe story is. Anyway, we'll get to it next week. So it doesn't end with Sympathy for the Devil, but I don't like that ending.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, no, that was the cool sacrifice and outdoing him, and then it's like, oh, so just time restarts. It's like he has other. I thought it would make more sense if he just went to another one of his kids, and that's like the teaser at the end.
that would be a way more interesting thing, is like he introduced him to in a different part of America, and he introduced him, and he's like, oh, I can give you so maybe they're like an actor who was trying to make it big and like, you know, like in Rosemary's Baby or something like that.
Yeah.
Some other reason to introduce the devil in another environment where he could do these things to people.
Yeah.
But instead it's just like, okay, he's back. He has all of his memories. He's going to do the right thing. But the devil is still out there.
Yeah.
The devil knows that his kid is still out there.
Yeah.
Like,
the first thing I would do if I was Keanu was just go to his mom and punch her.
yeah.
Be like, hey, my dad's the devil.
Because in 1966, you went to New York on a retreat with your church and banged a waiter who quoted scripture at you. Because in the Bible, even the devil can quote scripture, as they say.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, so that's the movie.
yeah, there's things about it I like.
I still have a soft spot for it, and I know it's not really good.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a movie that was almost good. Mm-hmm. The supernatural stuff, I don't think they work it in that well.
No.
So, like, it's hard with supernatural stuff, especially if it's, like, devil-related.
Yeah.
Like, Exorcist does it pretty well.
Yeah.
Depending on what version you watch, they introduce that there's maybe some evil later on. And then that movie goes on for a while. Like, is it in her head? There's very, very... and then it builds up and builds up.
Because so much of The Exorcist is, like, her getting medical tests because they're like, people aren't possessed by the devil. There's stuff with the brain, you know?
And then, like... And then you got, like, The Omen.
Yeah.
Where the devil's powers are a little bit more clear. It's like, yes, he can control people.
Yeah.
He can manipulate objects. They introduced that really early on. This one, it's not... It doesn't know if it wants to be the whole, like... You know, the devil on your shoulder manipulating you, or can he summon demons to beat you up in a park?
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
And it's not even like, oh, Jeffrey Jones was the bad guy, and once you're in with Milton, like
you become
you
corrupt.
sell your soul to him.
Yeah.
Like, but that wasn't very clear.
No,
like,
because what about all those other people who are just there, like working the phones, like secretaries
like
and stuff
some
like
of them,
that?
like the lady who works for him, she seems like she knows what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
The neighbors know what's going on. I don't think Jeffrey Jones knew about the whole devil thing.
Better if we don't let Jeffrey Jones know things.
We probably shouldn't have let Jeffrey Jones know about the What's he been in lately? I think the last movie he was in was Who's Your Caddy?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Who's Your Caddy?
Like I said, I think I was like, I probably shouldn't have watched it as like a 7 or 8 year old. But like I was into horror. I was into this kind of... I watched The Omen when I was very young.
Yeah, me too.
And this was very mature and very cool and edgy for me. Now that I'm older, it's a little bit more laughable. It takes itself way too seriously.
And that's the thing. It takes itself way too seriously. And where it shows restraint, I was surprised that it showed restraint because of how heavy-handed it was in places.
Yeah.
And then by the time it gets to the third act... There's no transition to the insanity.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The supernatural stuff, it's like, okay, well, this is weird. This is weird. Demon face. It's like, wait, whoa, no, let's we gotta work up to that.
Exactly, and if it's just...
Because at first it's just like, oh, he has a lot of money and manipulates a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, guy coughing because of magic spell, demon face.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
But that's the thing, like, if only Charlize Theron saw the demon face stuff, that would make sense because, like, oh, she's schizophrenic now. Yeah. But then when they just show up in the park, I know it's for the audience because people are dumb. Oh my god, there's a ghost in here.
That was the devil. I think you're going to have a good time with this
just
movie.
Al Pacino alone is so... He's bought in. Yeah. You know, he's chewing the scenery, so...
Not everyone's gonna like it. Cut a picture of my friend Adam here. But, like, I think it's enjoyable. It's definitely enjoyable. It's long.
Yeah, it's very... Yeah,
it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why this had to be 2.5 hours. You probably could have cut Delroy Lindo out.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
You could just say, hey, he won his first case. Great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Are you not a Delroy Lindo fan?
No, I like Delroy Lindo.
All right, good.
So look, I know this has been a little crazier review, okay? Look, I know people might get mad at me because I play devil's advocate, and you might be wondering why I'm doing all this stuff. Well, Newt, I have a surprise for you. I can't afford a morph effect. Can you look over there for a second? Okay.
Oh my god, Tony from Hack the Movies is a devil mask that he got in the 5th grade.
Yes. So all those edgy jokes I told earlier, that wasn't Tony. That was the devil.
Oh no.
So don't tweet Tony yelling about his jokes. Tweet the devil. Me. The devil. My name is Justin Silverman, and I am the devil. So tweet Justy Silverman and say, "Get out, Satan." Okay, so as you saw, I was trying to do a devil's advocate gag throughout the video, but I was very drunk, so it didn't go that well, which is why I kept interrupting. So, sorry this video is super long. We had a lot to say about this movie. We had too much to say about this movie. But thank you for watching if you made it all the way through. You guys are great. Love the reception I've been getting on talking about tapes. It's blown my mind, really. If you want more, just keep watching. There's also Patreon and other ways you can support the show. But mostly just keep watching. Check out my new podcast. I want more people to look at my podcast, Castilla versus the Pod Monster. There'll be links down here. I do a video version on YouTube, and then it's uploaded wherever you find podcasts. Check that out. I'm going to try and do some more Wednesday videos, and we're going to keep pumping out these Talking About tapes. We're filming a bunch of them. So I hope you enjoyed it. And, yeah, stick around for... Oh! Check out Adam's video. The video I plugged in the beginning of this. Go to Adam's channel and check out his video. End of Days versus Devil's Advocate. Goddamn. Yeah, check that out. Hilarious video. One of my favorite channels. I think you guys are really going to like it if you enjoyed these videos. Yeah, so feel free to yell at me for making the video too long. I totally agree, but it's a very loaded movie. So, sorry. Delete!